Today, I'm gonna show you exactly how and when to hit speed ups in pickleball. What's important to know is that against higher level players, it's pretty much impossible to win without knowing how to hit this shot. Better players are not gonna let you win from the back. You need to work your way to the kitchen line so you can take control with the speed up. So let's get into it. By the way, the most important part of hitting speed ups is where you target them, which I'll cover later in the video. Helping me today, I have my sister Kennedy. What is a speed up? A speed up is where you accelerate on a slower ball at the kitchen. So a lot of the time, you're accelerating off of a dink, and the goal of the speed up is to accelerate off of that slower ball so you can take control of the point. So you don't necessarily win the point with the speed up. It might take a few more shots after. At a high level, you'll see that probably 30 to 50% of all points end with someone hitting a speed up and then the point turning into a firefight with fast hands. But even at a 3.0 to 4.0 level, speed ups are extremely important. It actually might even be more important at that level. So if you're in that range, make sure to stay tuned. Now guys, we're gonna get into when to hit speed ups, where you should aim them, and the technique of doing so. Before we get into all that though, if you're trying to master the game of pickleball, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Every video we make is designed to help you make a specific part of your game better. So if you're trying to get to that next level, make sure to subscribe. So the first question that we need to answer is when should you go for a speed up? So as I said earlier, speed ups come from dinking situations. And when you're in a dinking situation, what you're looking to do is go harder when you have the right opportunity. So the second I see that I have the right opportunity, I'm gonna go harder and use that shot to take control of the point. But what's a good opportunity to go harder? Well, the main stereotypical best time to go for a speed up is when the ball is a little bit higher. So if I'm in a dinking rally and Kennedy hits me a slightly higher ball, that's my cue that I have a good angle over the net and I can accelerate. So the number one time to hit a speed up is when you're in a dinking rally and you see a ball that's slightly higher, like this. Because as I said, when the ball is higher, you have a better angle over the net and you can hit it harder without it going up. But getting a high ball isn't the only opportunity to go for a speed up. Another good time to go for a speed up is when you get your opponent off balance. So if me and Kennedy are dinking and I get her a little bit off balance, I can essentially go for a speed up even if the ball isn't super high, because if she's off balance, she's probably not in a very good position to react to a harder shot. So if she's off balance, that's also a good time to go for a speed up. And a third opportunity that's good is if you see a gap in the court. So let's say Kennedy slides over a little bit and I see a gap down the line. Essentially, that gives me a good opportunity to speed up to the open court. And that can happen down the line, down the middle, or on the other side too. So there's a bunch of different opportunities where you can go for speed ups and be smart. You just have to assess the situation and choose what makes the most sense. So having a good opportunity to go for a speed up isn't always about having a nice high ball. As I said, if you have one of those other opportunities, it can also be really effective. And sometimes when you go for a speed up on a lower ball, you can actually take your opponent by surprise because they're not expecting it. It's not always about height, but generally having a high ball is your best opportunity to go for a speed up. What's important to keep in mind though is that you don't want to come up to the kitchen and just go for speed ups on every dink. You really want to wait until you have the right opportunity. Because what happens is, if I start going for speed ups when I don't have the right opportunity, my opponent's going to counterattack and they're going to take control of the point because they're ready for you to go for a speed up. If you're in a dinking situation, your opponents know very well that you're trying to go hard. So if you go for it at the wrong time, they're going to take control of the point. When me and Kennedy got into pickleball, we were coming from a tennis background, and when we got up to the kitchen, we just wanted to go hard on everything. But when we started playing against better players, they would make us pay for that. So what we had to notice was when we shouldn't go for a speed up. So knowing when not to go for a speed up is almost as important as knowing when to do so. So the number one time to not go for a speed up is when you're off balance or out of position. So when Kennedy gets me out of position, if I try to go for a speed up, one, because I'm so off balance, I'm probably not gonna do a very good job of hitting the shot. I might miss it. And two, when I'm over here like this, she has such a good opportunity to counterattack because it takes me a long time to get back into position. So if you're off balance or on your back foot, I don't recommend going for a speed up. When you want to go for a speed up is when you're square to the kitchen on balance, and ideally your opponent has hit you a slower dink. So sometimes people call these dead dinks. If your opponent hits you an aggressive dink where you're off balance, probably not the best opportunity. You're looking for a slower dink where you have time and you're comfortable so that you can generate that pace without missing. And the last thing I want to talk about in terms of when you should go for a speed up is that it really depends on the level of the player that you're playing, specifically in how quickly they are at reacting. So if I'm playing someone that's really fast with their hands and they have really good counterattacks, I need to be super careful about when I go for a speed up, because if I do that, they might just cancel me every single time. On the other hand, if I'm playing a player that doesn't have very good reactions, I might just want to go for speed ups as much as I can, because when I do that, I'll win the point. So you need to be adaptive in terms of when you go for speed ups. There's not a one size fits all approach to when you should go for them. It really depends on who you're playing. So at a lower level, you might want to speed up a lot more than at a super high level. Just assess this in your games. It changes on a game-to-game basis, so make that assessment and try to play as smart as you can with that information. So now that you know when to go for speed ups, you need to learn the technique to do this most effectively. At the end of this section, I'll show you how to do this in a way that's deceptive. So getting into the technique of the speed up is a very wristy motion. So it's a very similar motion to our topspin roll volley. You don't want to take a big backswing on your speed up, because when you do that, you actually sort of tell your opponent that you're about to hit the ball hard. So when I go for a speed up in a dinking situation, I'm trying to take as little of a backswing as I can, and I want to get as much power as I can from my wrist. So to show you a close-up of what this looks like, I'm really just starting from here, and I'm using that flicking motion, definitely going for topspin, so I'm going a little bit below it, and then above it after. And it's all just right here. So it's a really, really compact motion. Nothing back here, no crazy follow through. It's really just here with that flick like that. So to show you a few more examples, dinking, then I go for that speed up. With your legs, if you're right on the kitchen and it's super short, you should just stay stable. So you'll be hitting it like this. Not really much movement with the legs. But if you're on your back foot a little bit, sometimes it'll bounce a little bit farther back. You'll be on your back foot. You can pivot forward while you hit it. So I'll show you how that looks. Like this, exactly. So I'm sort of using that rotation for power too. But I'd say generally you're square to the court when you're hitting this shot. So that won't happen super often. So to show you one more example, good speed up looks like this. Very wristy shot. And on the backhand, it's definitely a lot harder with a one-handed backhand to hit a good speed up, but it is possible. And what that would look like is that. So essentially the exact same idea. I'm flicking with my wrist to get that top spin. So I'm getting below the ball with my wrist and finishing above the ball. This motion like that. Don't want to take a big backswing. But if you watch high-level players, they're generally going to do a two-handed backhand speed up when they go for it. Probably almost every pro player uses a two-handed backhand if they're speeding up on their backhand side. So getting the two-hander down is hard, but looks something like that. It's totally fine though if you choose to go for speed ups on your forehand more often when you're getting started with this, or if you want to just use the one-handed backhand speed up. So don't feel like you need to learn a two-hander. But yeah, one-hander looks like that. And let me show you one more two-hander. So it's actually a very simple technique to the speed up. There's not much movement. You just really need to get a good amount of practice so that you get the right amount of feel to get that spin, and so that you don't sail the ball long, because as we're close and we're hitting it hard, it can be easy to send the ball long. And one really important thing to keep in mind is that a lot of the time, the best time to go for a speed up is out of the air. So when I go out of the air and I'm reaching over the kitchen, I'm pretty much hitting a roll volley, but I have that same speed up motion. And when I do this, I actually take away a lot of my opponent's time, because I'm probably reaching 2 feet into the kitchen and it's only 14 feet long. So I'm really taking away 15–20% of their time by getting a little bit closer. So if you watch the pros, you'll see that a lot of the time they're going for that speed up out of the air, leaning over the kitchen. So when you're doing that, your technique's pretty much exactly the same, but you're really only using your wrist since you don't have much room to have a big take back. So it's really just like this. And the last thing you want to keep in mind on your speed ups is that after you hit it, you need to be ready for that next volley, because most of the time they are going to get your speed up back, and you need to be ready to finish off with the firefight. So your next shot might be the kill shot, but either way, you need to be ready to end the point. I see a lot of players hit a speed up and then they sort of act like the point's over, and then their opponent counterattacks and they lose the point. So what you want to do is go for your speed up, get right into that strong ready position so that you're ready for that next shot and you can kill it. And in terms of being deceptive, the main thing that makes you deceptive on your speed up is not taking a huge backswing like I talked about. So the smaller that your backswing is, the less likely they'll notice that you're about to go for a speed up. What I like to do is when I'm gonna hit a speed up, I like to pretend that I'm gonna hit a dink until the last second, right? Because if I'm doing something different with my take back, they're gonna notice that something's off. But if I'm just going for the same exact preparation as my dink till the very last second, they're not gonna realize that I'm going for that speed up until the ball is coming right at them. So what I challenge you to do is when you're going for a speed up, pretend that you're hitting a dink to the very last second, maybe about right here, and then use that wrist flick motion to attack. So use that exact same take back that you have on a dink, and then accelerate with that wrist flick motion. To get this flick technique down though, you need to practice. At first, if you're getting started with speed ups, you might feel like you need to take a bigger backswing to get power, but the more repetition you get, the more comfortable you're gonna get with that shorter, more compact flicking motion. You can practice this on the court with a partner, but with the Dink Master, you can train this all by yourself. Here, I'm going through a few dinks and using my flick motion to speed up. My goal on the speed up is to keep below the green line. I'm also using the targets as references for the key weak points that I'm gonna go through in the next section. With the Dink Master, in as little as 5 minutes per day, you can train yourself to master dinks, volleys, speed ups, and so much more. Imagine how much better you'd be if you could get some practice in every day on your own. To check out the Dink Master, head to the link below in the description of the video. For a limited time, the Dink Master comes with a free mini course that goes through all the awesome ways you can use it to train. Now though guys, we need to get into the most important part of speed ups, which is where you target them. So what's important to note is that there really are 3 main speed up targets. The first is down the line, between the line and your opponent. The second is the right shoulder or the right hip area of your opponent. Because what you can do with that is you can jam them a little bit. So you see if I hit the ball to Kennedy there, she kind of gets chicken winged a little bit like that. It can become a little bit challenging if you're playing a righty, if you go at the right shoulder or right hip. And the third target is down the middle. So a lot of the time, going right down the middle is a great way to go for a speed up because you might just confuse your opponents. There might be a gap. A lot of the time, down the middle is your best bet. So regardless of where you're standing on the court, those are your main 3 options. But as I'm about to mention, depending on where you're hitting the speed up from, those can actually be a little bit more effective. So if I'm hitting the ball from right here, I actually have a pretty good opportunity to go for all 3, but here's probably my best opportunity to go down the line. So especially if I see Kennedy standing a little bit more to the side, going down the line here is my best bet because I have the shortest distance to go down the line. So if I'm hitting a speed up from the middle and I try to go down the line, one, I'm farther away from the line because if I have to go at an angle, it's farther, right? Also, if I'm hitting the ball from here down the line, the ball has to cross a lot closer to Kennedy's reach, right? So from here, if Kennedy's standing a little bit over, it doesn't go nearly as close to her as if I'm standing here. So when you're closer to the sideline, that's your best opportunity to go down the line. But that being said, I can still go down the middle and at the right shoulder from here too. When I'm hitting my speed up from closer to the middle, this is my best opportunity to go down the middle because I'm closest to that, right? So when I'm here, like I said, I don't really want to go for that line target too often, but the middle and the right shoulder are both good opportunities. Really important thing to keep in mind though, generally you don't want to go for as many speed ups cross court because when you go cross court, the person has a lot more time to react. Also, if you go cross court, there's a very high chance that the person is going to attack your partner with that shot who might not really be ready for you to have gone for that shot. So by going for a cross court speed up, a lot of the time you could be spending up your partner. When you think about the right side versus the left side in terms of speed ups, not much changes in terms of your targets, but what does change is your forehand is going to be in the middle. So if you're the type of player that prefers your forehand speed up, just know that you're gonna be hitting more of those from the middle. And if you wanna go for speed ups closer to the line, you're gonna need to figure out the backhand. So that's really all that changes. What you need to keep in mind though is that your speed up strategy is gonna change based on who you're playing. So as you're playing them, you should start to notice what they respond well to For instance, if I see Kennedy isn't doing very well when I'm hitting to her right shoulder, I'm gonna keep targeting that, and that could get me points, right? But if I'm going at her right shoulder and she's blocking it back really well every single time, well, then I'm probably gonna stop doing that, and maybe I'll target her partner or the middle. And one cool thing to keep in mind is that sometimes you can set up a down the line partner with their cross court partner. And what I mean by that is, here I'm gonna be dinking with Kennedy, and what I'm doing is I'm using her to set up her down the line partner with an out of the air speed up. So a lot of the time, you can essentially pick on the cross court player with harder, more aggressive dinks, use them to get a pop up, and then take that pop up and target the player directly in front of you with a speed up who might not necessarily be ready because they haven't hit a ball in a while. So that's a really smart play in terms of going for a speed up at an effective time. And if you think I missed any speed up targets, guys, make sure to let me know in the comments. The ones I went over are the most standard, but there's definitely some more creative ones that I see players using. So if you know any, make sure to let me know in the comments. Now though, guys, I want to take you through some realistic examples where I'm using all the tips that we just went through in a point situation. So you see there, I did exactly what I said earlier, and I took advantage of Kennedy's higher dink, and I took it right down the line at Keaton, which he was not ready for because he hadn't hit the ball for a while. So as I said, going from that cross-court dink to the down the line speed up is a great way, a really smart tactic to take control of the point. There, I went right down the middle, nobody was home, and went straight through the court, hit a winner. A lot of the time if you go for a down the middle speed up, that happens. So one of my favorite speed ups. I think it's the best speed up at the 3.0 to 4.0 level, so I highly recommend trying it. Oh. There I went for a speed up. I was more on my back foot. I also went cross court, which gave Kennedy a good opportunity to counterattack since I was out of position and she had a lot of time to react. So like I said, don't recommend going for a speed up when you're on your back foot, and it's a little bit riskier to go cross court as well. Ooh. There I had a good opportunity to go for a speed up. Took it right at Kennedy's right shoulder. Almost hit her in the face, but I definitely stunned her and chicken winged her and got the point as a result. And guys, in order to be able to hit speed ups, you need to be able to get to the kitchen, and the best shot to do that with is the third shot drop. And if you want to go deep into that, I do that in this next video.